Bro, there's no way I just got scammed by this clothing brand. The clothing brand name is Serious Motion. It's been 3 weeks, I haven't received my hoodie. How long does it take for them to ship? Yeah, I think they're scamming. Where is my hoodie?
TikTok clothing brands. There has been a lot of controversy around TikTok clothing brands, from scamming their customers to not shipping out orders to stealing designs and overall just being cultureless. Nowadays, the TikTok streetwear culture is completely oversaturated. Everyone is copying everyone, doing the same designs, same patterns, and no clear innovation or direction for where the culture is going. And many other people share my frustration with clothing brands, specifically on the app TikTok. The biggest issue is the oversaturation problem. Starting your own clothing brand is now seen as an easy side hustle or a quick way to make some money. Many people who are not even into streetwear are getting into the industry to try and dropship products, to try and scam people, and just make a quick buck with no appreciation for the culture. The respect for the craft of fashion, streetwear, and overall design has been disappearing. The market is flooded with people who copy and paste designs and replicate one another, which completely drowns out the real artists and creatives who deserve the attention. On top of that, many of these TikTok streetwear brands don't actually create their own designs. A process that many of these streetwear brands use is hiring people on Instagram or other platforms to actually create the designs for them. So essentially what these brands are doing is they buy pre-made designs and graphics from Instagram accounts that sell these online, slap them onto a t-shirt and call it a clothing brand. In my opinion, this defeats the whole purpose of actually creating a brand with something of your own storytelling and originality behind it. On top of that, it's now become a running joke in the community where all brands use the same designs, and each of these clothing brands have the same formula for success. In order for these brands to make a quick buck online, it's very simple and they all follow the same recipe. First is to find someone and buy cheap designs. Then is to find a manufacturer, oftentimes a company in China such as through Alibaba or some other manufacturer that will actually create the clothes. And the last thing to do is get their samples in, create TikToks, and use it as a website to promote their product. And oftentimes this formula actually works, but the issue is it lacks any form of storytelling or creativity. So these brand owners are making some quick cash if they find success in their products, but it lacks any true sense of value or even a brand identity. In my opinion, a lot of these TikTok brands are actually very disrespectful to streetwear in general. Because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of buying and wearing clothes is to have some sort of meaning, some sort of style and direction behind it. So a lot of times they lack substance, creativity, and purpose when it comes to creating their clothes and really just want to make a quick buck off a consumer. And a lot of times, these products are marked up very, very high, especially for the cost it takes to produce them. Some streetwear brands charge ridiculous prices for products that took no effort or creativity and oftentimes cost them $5 to $10 for a product and oftentimes market 5-10 times the price. This formula works because people are still buying these brands that offer nothing original and nothing of creative substance. And one of the biggest ways that these TikTok brands are promoting their clothes is through influencers. A lot of times people are influenced by seeing their favorite TikTokers or internet personalities and what they're wearing, and oftentimes want to replicate that. So say a video pops up on your For You page and someone's wearing a really cool piece that you might like. A lot of times it's a paid partnership or a brand promo, especially if you haven't heard the name of this brand before. Brands oftentimes use influencers to promote their products because they know they'll get views, they know people will go and purchase the product, and their audiences will fall for it. There are also a lot of underground brands that are doing it the right way by creating real, authentic brands with storytelling. But oftentimes, these small underground brands with originality are getting overshadowed by TikTok hype brands. And what a lot of these streetwear brands do is capitalize off of trends. TikTok trends move very fast, and so do the fashion trends on this specific platform. Just the same as a popular song that comes out that gets very hyped, oftentimes it dies down and is forgotten. The same thing as a lot of these fashion TikTok trends. So if the brand does not innovate and create, a lot of times it gets overdone and thus dies. A lot of these streetwear TikTok brands are really just creating fast fashion. Trends that are going to come and go, get overplayed, and their clothes aren't going to be worn anymore in the long term. Which leads on to their copycat formula. These brands find trendy clothes with trendy graphics, then purchase cheap manufacturing, and then move on to influencer promotion. Once influencers promote their brand, they get directed to their Shopify stores. And a lot of these brand owners actually make a profit off of teaching people how to start a brand. TikTok makes it look easy to start your own brand, but in reality, there's a lot of logistics behind the scenes. And most people lack the skills such as production, handling, shipping, and customer service. Some brands go even as far as to scam their own customers. There have been many instances from brands who actually falsely advertise their products as higher quality, and then once customers get in their products, it doesn't look anything like the product they ordered online. The way that these brands do this is actually very clever. When they create their design and send it off to their manufacturer, the manufacturer will actually send them a sample, which is often anywhere between 1 to 10 pieces of clothes, and these brand owners will sometimes specifically ask these samples to be extremely high quality. So when they get these samples in, they create content with it, they promote it, sometimes they'll send them to influencers, but when the product is actually ordered and sent to their customers, it is not the same quality because all of the mass quantities of products that were ordered was in less quality than the original samples. There have been so many stories I've heard of people ordering products from a small streetwear TikTok brand, and they're waiting months in advance to get their items, and the items never even end up shipping in the first place. Another big issue that these streetwear TikTok brands have is pre-orders. Essentially what a pre-order is that you are paying for a product, expecting it to get a few months in advance to give them time to actually manufacture the product after it is purchased. And personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because oftentimes it helps the brand owners know how many they want to purchase, not overbuy inventory, and have all these problems with manufacturing and shipping and just all these logistical back end issues. But what ends up happening is these pre-orders take so long to get, and sometimes they don't even end up shipping at all. So essentially, whenever you do purchase an item on pre-order, these brand owners are using your money to pay for the products in advance to be made so they don't have to worry about excess inventory. Sometimes these manufacturers can take a very long time to produce. So a lot of times this is multiple months in advance of after you order your product of you actually getting it in the mail. But at the end of the day, that is a huge downside from a lot of brands, especially if you get really excited to buy an item and then you find out that you're going to end up having to wait multiple months to actually receive it if you decide to purchase it, which goes back to the no meaning behind the brands. Most of these streetwear TikTok brands lack any sort of backstory or purpose. A lot of these brands try and sell this sort of vibe of creativity, dreaming, and hustling, but really at the end of the day, all their ideas and concepts are just recycled from other brands. In reality, starting a sustainable long-term brand is hard. TikTok makes it seem very oversimplified, but that is just not the reality of creating something worth having in the long term. TikTok makes it seem oversimplified, like starting a streetwear brand is extremely easy, you can make a lot of money, but in reality, that is not the case, especially if you want to create a brand with substance and longevity. In reality, building a brand requires a lot of hard work as well as attention and detail, and just overall originality and storytelling that I think a lot of these TikTok brand owners just don't have. I think most of these TikTok brands are set up to fail from the beginning because they don't have a clear purpose, and a lot of times they're forgetting the hard parts and back end things of creating a brand, such as handling returns, dealing with customer service, dealing with reviews. In my opinion, most of these streetwear TikTok brands are failed from the start. They lack any sort of purpose or storytelling, but they also lack focusing on the hard parts behind the brand. And at the end of the day, fashion on TikTok is overrun, especially within the streetwear TikTok brand niche. There's no distinctness or uniqueness to any of these brands. A lot of the times you can't distinguish one from another. The names of the brands are similar, the story behind them is similar, and I think it's just hard to stand out as a brand if you don't contribute any sort of originality. And I think one of the biggest downfalls of these brands is following quick trends and not offering really good quality products, which leads to most of their customers regretting buying from them, to never be returning customers, and to just never wear their clothes again. Too many TikTok brands rely on trends and not sustainable long-term fashion. On top of that, these TikTok brand owners glorify the success that comes with running a TikTok brand and the lifestyle they have that comes with the money they make. But oftentimes, these successful brands don't actually show the work that comes behind it. I've even seen a lot of TikTok brand owners selling courses on how to create a brand themselves. Recently, there was even this guy who created a whole in-person course where he invited all these kids who were aspiring to be a brand owner and gave them their whole setup and had a whole in-person seminar teaching them how to start a successful brand. So at the end of the day, if you're supporting TikTok fashion brands, make sure you're doing it for the right people who are actually unique and actually have something of value to offer. Now, in my opinion, you could buy whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of these authentic underground brands are being overshadowed by the basic, overplayed fashion streetwear brands. There are so many underground brands that deserve way more recognition and support than a lot of these cookie cutter streetwear brands. And if you are thinking about starting your own brand, or if you have your own brand, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not just to make money or because it's a trend. The only brands that are going to be sustainable and last the test of time are the ones who aren't necessarily following the trends. They're the ones creating it. They're the ones who have original ideas and stories behind their work. So at the end of the day, it's your decision, but I would recommend to stop supporting hollow, basic streetwear brands who have no creativity and instead appreciate the real creative and original brands who are in streetwear fashion. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found any insight, please make sure to hit me with a thumbs up. And if you're into men's fashion, streetwear, and sneakers, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.